What's up guys, it's CG. So this is going to be a thorough review of Overture Man by the House of Amouage. First, I'm going to give you guys a rundown so you have a general idea what the fragrance is about. Then I'm going to share how users rated the scent profile and the performance. My wife and I are going to share our impressions of it. And finally, I'm going to share my overall opinion after wearing it. Without further ado, let's get this started. Alright, so this is a very boozy, spicy fragrance to me that's very complex. It's going to be really hard to just definitively say what this fragrance smells like because there's nothing else like it out there. But I would say, to me, it's got a Christmas sort of vibe, but it's really the color orange. And the spices remind me more of cabinet spices than, say, a cinnamon spice. But it all comes together to form this very beautiful, deep, complex, perfect for fall and winter fragrance. It also has a heavy use of cumin in it that kind of gives it its own unique character as well. The notes listed on Amouage's website indicate it's a complex fragrance. They also mention that it has 31% oil concentration, which is very, very high. It goes through 6 weeks of aging, 3 weeks of maceration, and 3 weeks of maturation before being put on the shelf. As far as how much users like the scent, it got an average rating of an 8. 68% of users would give it an 8 or above, and only about 15% would give it a 6 or lower. So it's not that polarizing, but if you look at the rating distribution, there is some 3s, some 4s, some 5s. Some people just don't do well with this fragrance, and I'm one of them. If I were to rate it personally, it's really hard for me because on one end, I really like it. I think it's a 10. And I actually do think that the cumin is appropriate being in the fragrance, but the cumin is just overdone in my opinion. It just distracts me from what I really like about it. It starts to give me a BO armpit smell. Don't really feel like excited about wearing it for that reason. So overall, I'm going to have to give it a 6. For longevity, it got an average rating of an 8.8. 95% of voters would give it an 8 or above. I would give it a 10. Like, this is not called the Orange Beast for nothing. Like, this stuff really lasts the whole day, 10 hours plus easy. For sillage, it got an average rating of an 8.4. Almost 90% of voters would give it an 8 or above. I'm in agreement. It really performs well. It's complex. I think it's beautiful smelling, but there's just too much cumin. It's almost like having the best food you ever had, and it's really good, but there's just too much salt in it. At the end of the day, I just feel distracted by the overuse of that one note. So Overture Man is a very, very, very complex fragrance. And what I mean by that is you could tell there's a whole bunch of pieces going on, a whole bunch of spices and different types of things going on. But it's blended so perfectly together that it forms its own unique scent that I really haven't smelled anywhere else. So describing the scent profile is going to be more difficult. Like, it's already impossible to describe the scent to somebody, but I feel like with Overture Man, it's going to be even that much more impossible. So the best thing I could do is let you know it is sweet to me. It's definitely boozy, like a thick sweetness. And it definitely has spices going on. And for me, my psychology, it does give me a Christmas vibe, but not in a traditional sense. The sweetness in this, to me, has an orange character to it. I don't know why my brain makes that connection, but it definitely connects to almost like a boozy, thick orange kind of sweetness. And the spices, to me, is like a collection of, if you open a spice cabinet and smell the air, and you get the accumulation of it, it's like that, but because of the boozy orange sweetness and the spices on top, it almost gives me like the vibe of what an orange Cinnabon would be like, because it does oddly give me a Christmas cozy sweater sort of vibe, even though it's something totally unique. The opening is fantastic. It's my favorite part of the fragrance because the spices are so prominent. They add such a level of freshness, and then that boozy orange sweetness is just so intoxicating, absolutely phenomenal. And I'm like, damn, this could be like it for me. Like, this could be one of my favorites. But unfortunately, openings don't last forever, and it dried down. I don't actually have a problem with cumin in fragrances. It really depends on how it's blended. Like, I think it's in Ganymede, and I really like that one. I really like Rose 31. That being said, I don't like Burlington 1819, and the reason is the cumin just feels out of place in that fragrance. It's not about how much of it there is. It's more like it doesn't belong in a grapefruit fragrance. It just feels weird. And this one, I actually feel like the cumin belongs here in Overture Man. I feel like it should be there, and I feel like it adds to it. That being said, I feel like there's just too much of it. I can't escape it. Like, I really want to get to what's underneath all of that cumin. It's almost like this fragrance is 95% perfect, but that little 5% of having too much cumin just ruins it for me. It's like a distraction, and it starts to give me kind of like an armpit smell. And that just like, it just ruins it for me. That being said, like, everything else about the fragrance is a 10. The performance, the booziness, the masculine type of vibe. And I will say this, in the air, it smells better. Like, the cumin's dialed more into it, and it is blended really well. And in the air, I really like it, but I'm an arm sniffer. Like, whenever I apply fragrances, I actually apply a spray to the top of my wrist here, so that when I smell my wrist, I don't look like a weirdo. Well, I don't look as weird. I'm sure I look weird to people still sniffing my wrist, but at the same time, I can passively smell it, and I do that a lot throughout the day. And so for me, it just kind of ruins it, because I like smelling fragrances up close. So then the Overture Man up close just kind of stinks to me. It kind of just smells like orange flavored armpit, for lack of a better term. But at the same time, I could tell it's complex. It's really well done, and I could see how this could really work for some people out there. I actually really respect this fragrance. I think anybody who's discovering the house of Amouage, I do think this one's worth trying. I think the quality's there, the complexity. I think it's totally different from their typical lineup. But at the same time, that you might like it, or you might be like me, like that cumin could get in the way. I really wish I could get past that and enjoy this one.
Amouage Overture. Amouage Overture, to me, it smells very similar to, not very similar, it smells in the same category as Obsession for women, which I have, and I actually love it. Very close to that opening of Obsession for women. So that's gonna be like orange and incense. I think this is suitable for cold weather, maybe the fall and the winter. Probably for somebody who's like over 30. I don't feel like somebody young would be able to pull it off unless they have like a really mature aesthetic. This is a 6. It smells good. If you show up with your little sweater and this, you're good.
So overall, this fragrance isn't for me, but I really tried. Like, I ordered a 5 ml of this and used a lot of it. I kept spraying it, kept wanting it to work out. It's one of those fragrances that I never heard about, Overture Man, before I started a YouTube channel. And then the second I started one, I think I get the most comments about that Amouage specifically, because it tends to like resonate with people hard, like very hard. So a lot of the comments I've gotten is, dude, you got to try Overture Man. That's my favorite. And I respect other people's opinions. And I know there's such a huge fan base around this one. So I really gave it a fair chance, really tried. And I do like it in the air. And I actually will wear it occasionally. But it's not for me in the sense of getting a whole bottle of it. It's just not that for me. Feel free to comment with y'all's opinions. Subscribe for future content. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.